Maharaj has been really propagating the holy name all over the world. He actually started by translating Srila Prabhupada's books from English to German. Yes, he's from Germany, but he travels the world. And for me personally, he is a big inspiration in my life, a big inspiration for all of us, I'm sure you will know. He has written amazing books. One of them, which I have right now, it's Living of the Holy Name. So Living the Name. And I really want you all to check this book out. It's on Amazon. And really, it has helped in really deepening my connection to Krishna. So I want to say thank you to Maharaj for that. And also for really traveling the world and really helping to start so many kirtan melas up. Through his mercy, even here in Birmingham, where I am, our 24-hour kirtan has become a global event thanks to Maharaj's mercy. So without further ado, I really want to pass on the mic to His Holiness Sacinanda Swami. Sacinanda Swami ki jai.
Great. Thank you very much for your very warm and heartfelt introduction. Jagannath Kirtan, I have sat with you in many kirtans, I do remember, and I'm very honored to join this program organized by His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj. Today we will be doing a mini Japa retreat. It is also good for inspiring us to go deeper in our kirtan practice. And we will try to address and solve maybe the biggest problem which those face who sing the holy name or who chant the holy name. There's one big problem, which is the source of all other problems for chanting. It's called inattentiveness. This inattentiveness or inability to concentrate and focus on the holy name is really the source of all the other problems which we face in our lives. If we can be attentive to Krishna, and more so attentive to Krishna in his specific form as the holy name, then we come to a state which we could describe as being above the clouds of Maya. Now we are sometimes under the clouds of Maya, but by chanting the holy name in the service of Krishna, we are piercing through Maya and we enter that divine level of Krishna consciousness, where we are no longer under the clouds, but above the clouds. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked, what is the easiest definition of Krishna consciousness? And he said, above the clouds. You are above the clouds of Maya. And this can be obtained. This can be reached. This can be practically realized if we learn to chant the holy name with absorption. Absorption is most probably the opposite of inattention. In this little Japa retreat, which I will give you, I will hope to help all of us to cut the root of inattention really at its very beginning, so that we will be very blissful when we chant, very absorbed. Let us start. Please, all of you who are listening, you may fold your hands and you may chant with me. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna prastaya bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve O Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatyade Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everybody, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Holy Name Ki Jai. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada writes, it is further said in the Padma Purana, there is no difference between the Lord and the Holy Name. As such, the Holy Name is as perfect as the Lord Himself in fullness, purity, and eternity. No difference between the Holy Name and the Lord Himself. Absolutely the same. Whenever you associate with a person for a long, long time, there is a slight difficulty. That is, you become familiar with the person and you stop being aware of his specialness. For instance, we can see in marriage relationships, in the beginning, the partners hold a lot of appreciation for each other in their hearts. But then 20 years into the marriage, they are overly familiar and sometimes say words that should not be said. Or, let me give you another example. There may be a household servant who is in the house, and after some time, the servant gets treated in a not appropriate way. Friendships suffer from becoming familiar, and practices, things which you do again and again and yet again. There is something that creeps into your relationship to the practice. You become over familiar and you lose your respect. That means you become a little indifferent. Now, the chanting of the holy name is something which most of the participants in this call, most of the devotees do every single day. Some of them have chanted already since 40 or 50 years, others since 30 years or 20 years. And therefore, a certain indifference, a certain laziness, a certain inattention has crept into their practice. And as a result, they have become distant from the holy name. They are no longer as enthusiastic, as prayerfully chanting as is necessary so that the holy name reveals his full glory. Haridas Thakur mentions that this over-familiarity, which manifests in inattentiveness, takes root in the body, in the mind, and in the heart. When someone who chants since a long time the holy name becomes indifferent and it manifests in the body, he feels lazy. Oh, again I have to sit down and do my japa. Or he or she will feel sleepy. And fall asleep. This is how the over-familiarity or indifference manifests when it comes to the body, as laziness and sleepiness. When this indifference or inattentiveness manifests in the mind, it becomes visible as distraction. While the devotee chants, the mind becomes distractive. It thinks either of things in the future, I have to buy this, and I have to buy that, I have to go there. Or the mind becomes distracted to things that lie in the past. Why did he or she say this? Why did this have to happen the way it happened? So when the inattentiveness strikes the heart, then it's really, we are in deep, deep trouble. We become indifferent to the chanting. We don't care any longer. So let us summarize up till now where we are. We have said that although the holy name is Krishna, because we associate on a daily basis with the holy name, many of us suffer from an over-familiarity, yes, which is manifested into a sort of inattentiveness. And when this inattentiveness strikes the physical body, you become lazy to chant, you don't want, or sleepy while you chant. Or when the inattentiveness gets hold of the mind, at that time you become distracted. And when the inattentiveness keeps hold of the heart, you become indifferent. You don't care any longer. It becomes something you are not at all enthusiastic about. This is a situation which many, many, many devotees face. I have been so fortunate to give holy name retreats all over the world now. I've practically gone to every corner of the world giving these holy name retreats, and I have had the opportunity to ask those who attend the retreats, why have you come here? What is your purpose of attending this retreat? And I always get the answer, Maharaj, my relationship to the holy name is terrible. Or they say, Maharaj, I'm not able to follow my vows, my initial vows to chant 16 offenseless round each day. And from almost all participants, throughout all the years, the old ones and the young ones, I get the response that they come to the Holy Name retreat with a singular focus to really stop inattentive chanting and offensive chanting, and to get a new access to the Holy Name. What is the quickest and fastest way to chant the Holy Name with taste? I will now give you a tried, tested, and proved formula. Some of you might like to take a pen and a paper now. I will speak for about 20 minutes. Then I will invite you for a meditation and a short kirtan of the Holy Name. And then I will try to answer any questions which you have. You might like to send your questions to the host of this program, Jagannath Kirtan Prabhu in Birmingham. Please listen now. This indifference, this distractedness, this laziness is our worst enemy when we want to chant good Japa. So, because it is on different levels, this inattentiveness, we have to deal with it on different levels. Is this clear to you? One problem which arises here can't be solved here. You have to go there to solve the problem. So let me first address the problem of laziness or sleepiness, the inattentiveness which manifests on the level of the body. You understand, we will have to work now on 3 different levels, body, mind and heart, to overcome inattentiveness. For the body, I wish to give you 3 very simple procedures. Please do this as you listen to me. The first is posture. Sit straight. Ajay Prabhu from Udaipur, please sit straight. Tina Kamp, Mataji, please sit straight. Yes. Anadi Gora, Janakadas, Jagannath, Kirtan Prabhu, please all. Posture. We want to drive out laziness from the body. When you do your japa, Prabhupada would always remind us, sit properly. The next is pronunciation. You have to pronounce the body, the Mahamantra with your lips in a very clear way. And the last point which you can do with your body is to listen. Let us do this now. I see someone raised his hand to ask a question. Please keep your question for after when I have talked. Yes, I will now give a workshop where you will please just participate, and then afterwards I will answer your good questions. Okay? So, I will now chant one round like you, where we will do three things. We will sit properly, we will pronounce the mantra very clearly, and we will listen. Three things. Okay, Anadi Guru, ready? I will chant one mantra alone, and then we will chant for some time together. If you have your beatback, good. If you do not have your beatback, no problem. You can chant without beatback, just the sound. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Now everyone pronounce properly and listen. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 4 times more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Thank you, excellent. This is what you do when you sit down. You sit in a straight position, you pronounce the mantra really clearly, and then you listen. You listen with your ears. And when you do this for some time, your mind will become very pacified, and you will be able to listen more. It is said in the scripture, a falcon is a bird, in training, is tied with a rope to a perch where the falcon sits. In the beginning, the falcon will fly everywhere, but after some time it will settle down on the perch and become peaceful. In the same way, someone who chants and he keeps on chanting will find out that the mind first goes everywhere, like that bird in training. But after some time, by the power of the mantra, by the power of the holy name, the mind will sit with the holy name, be with the holy name, very tight together, very strong together. Yes. But this will happen only if you concentrate your mind The mind can be the worstest enemy, but it can also be the best of friends. There is a very nice instruction how you can, concentrate the mind. The first thing is focus on being absolutely present in the here and now. When you chant, do not go from the here and now to the future or to the past. Just stay with what is happening right now. Hare. Then the next thing which happens is Krishna. The next thing, Hare. The next thing, Krishna. So you learn to be absolutely present-minded. If you don't learn this, my dear listeners, if you cannot learn to be present in the moment, you will always appear distracted. You will live your life with only half of your strengths. You will really not get everything out of your life. This learning to be fully present is absolutely necessary. And the next thing is you have to learn just watch one little thing. Is when your mind goes, catch it and bring it back to the holy name. This is what Krishna advises in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Yata yata nishalati. From wherever and whenever the mind wanders, one should certainly bring it back. Certainly. It's almost like a little dog, you know. When you have a little dog on a long leash, like they have in Europe. In India, I think they have only short leashes. But in Europe, the newest fashion is to let the dog run on a long leash. So when it runs somewhere and it gets into trouble, you have to immediately bring the dog back so that it is no longer in trouble. You have to put it on the short leash. So in chanting with the mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, whenever you see that the mind gets unconcentrated, bring it back to the sound of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Then the mind will go, oh, I have to soon go to Berlin where there is a holy name event. I will have to drive in 1 hour from here where I'm staying into the public place. I see my mind is thinking like this, so I bring it back. No, now it's Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sometimes chanters come to me and say, Maharaj, it's not so easy to control the mind because when it runs away, it is away. And I say, you don't know anything. When you see that the mind has run away, that's good. That's the beginning. Because now it is possible for you to capture it. Most of the time, we do not see, we do not notice that the mind has run away. We sit there quite mindless. When we see that the mind has run away, we are in a good position to get it back. Now we can catch it. Now we can control it. Now we can bring it back to the holy name. So these two things you can do to concentrate your mind. Be present in the present moment to the holy name. And the second is pull it back from wherever it has gone due to its restless nature, and just bring it to the sound of the holy name. And you will see miracles happening. Yesterday we had a nice kirtan event. Today we also have one. It was in a German village. There was a nice house and it was filled with devotees. And we were chanting for a good amount of hours, I think 6 hours altogether. And as we were chanting, I noticed I came to the zone or the state where my mind was not wanting anything else, where my mind was not running to any other place. It was just there. To experience this phenomena, where the mind is still satisfied, like the bird which sits on the perch. The mind sits with the mantra, yes. Then you notice, wow, I am above the clouds now. I'm no longer under the clouds where I'm disturbed by the rain and the noise of the thunder. I'm above the clouds where I can see the Krishna sun. This happens if you focus your mind on the mantra for an extensive period of time. Then by the mercy of the holy name, your mind is carried to what we could call above the clouds. Who of you has ever gone into and was riding on a train? I think most of us have been on trains. Do you remember when you stand on the platform? Here's the platform. The train is coming. And it stops before the platform. Now, it's your first and foremost duty to get into the train, and then the train will take you. But if you do not get into the train, you remain standing on the platform while the train is somewhere else. This happens to many of us who don't get into the train of the holy name and therefore feel left out from the ecstasy. They feel left out. They feel, we could not make it. This is why concentrating is so important. Concentration does not mean anything else than entering the holy name. That is concentration, entering the holy name. So whenever you find you're distracted, no problem. Now, I want to come to the most important point, the heart. We were dealing with problems in the body, in the mind. Now we will go to the heart of the matter. The heart is, as far as chanting is concerned, the most important item. The heart is the seed of spiritual realization. Without the heart, we cannot make any spiritual progress. See, you have 3 hearts. The physical heart, boom, 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 which is like the pump. It pumps so many liters of blood each day Then you have the emotional heart, where you have the emotions of gratitude, love, or disappointment, the emotional heart. Then you have a third heart, the spiritual heart, where Krishna is present, where the soul is present as his eternal servant. So chanting should be done with a heart, with a prayerful mood. There's a very nice there is a very nice meditation which Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives us so that we can bring our heart to act. What is the most important function of the heart? The spiritual heart. I'm asking you. That's a good question, no? Jagannath Kirtan, the most important
Very good question.
function of your spiritual heart. Dina Mataji, the most important function of your spiritual heart, what is it? Ajay from Udaipur, Janakadas, Anani Gur. What is the most important function of the spiritual heart? It is, I see you have raised your hand. That's very good. But please ask your question in a few minutes. I'm almost finished. I want to finish first. And then, here come answers. Connecting to Krishna. That's the most important function of the spiritual heart, says Madhavi. Then Sri Chandika Devi Dasi says, the most important function of the spiritual heart is to be with Krishna. Very good. Here comes another from Jagannath Kirtananda to everyone. Anu, please click the link. Oh, what is this? Cry for Krishna. That's the most important function of the spiritual heart. Wonderful answers. Very, very nice. All your answers had to make place for Krishna to live in. Wonderful. Dina Kampa, you have said. Heart to beat for Krishna. Remembrance of Krishna. Wow, you're really a wonderful crowd, my dear devotees. You are enlightened souls, yes, longing for Krishna. Beat only for Krishna. Wonderful. My God, Krishna Kanhaya Goyal. Yes. From Hare Krishna to everyone, feeling eternal servant of Krishna. That's the most important function of the heart. Cry for Krishna is said in Shikshastakam from Hanisha and Hasini to everyone. Wonderful. Let me say it in... more answers are coming. Let me say it in one word. Relationship. The most important function of your spiritual heart is to enter into a relationship for Krishna. And there you will then realize your own eternal form. It's called in Sanskrit Svarup. One devotee has said it. Once you make your relationship with Krishna, you are immediately realizing who you are. Yes. Have you ever noticed? In relationship to others, you realize who you are. There's a story from Bengal of two little girls who were found by wolves and who lived with wolves. And as a result of living with the wolves, the two little girls developed wolves' habits. Yes, they were howling like the wolves to the moon. Even they developed fur on their chest, which is untypical for little girls. in the relationship with the wolf, they were becoming wolves. We always become what we are in relationship to others. You have learned English, German, or Hindi because you were in a relationship with human beings, your parents who spoke in that language to you. You become you by relating to another person. So you will, and that is done in the heart. Relating to Krishna will make you your own you. It will help you to understand your Svarupa, who you are in relationship with Krishna. You will see and feel, I'm a servant of Krishna. And it will totally occupy your mind. So, I will now help you to do 3 meditations which will help you to revive your spiritual heart. This is now an exercise. I request you to sit down before your computer. Let us sit tall. Let us breathe. Deep in and out breath. Sit tall with your spine erect. And continue to breathe consciously in and out. You will see that your mind will become calm and focused. As you feel calmness, think about this truth. I am an atomic part of Krishna. I'm his eternal servant. I have invested for so long in so many relationships. Now I want to think of you, Krishna. You are infinite and my only master. I'm here in this world, learning, growing, to become your eternal servant. And from this place, let us chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time, please, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much. We have another 15 minutes or so. And I wanted to see that we are now answering the questions which are there. Let me just focus one more time, or focus you one more time. See, all the problems in chanting come from inattentiveness. Inattentiveness, again, has its origin because we so often chant the holy name that we have become familiar. And this familiarity has influenced our body, our mind, and our heart. In our body, we are sometimes lazy and sleepy. In our mind, we are distracted, and in our heart, we are indifferent. We don't care. So, we need to deal with on three levels with this familiarity or inattention. On the physical platform, we give absolute presence by sitting straight, by pronouncing the mantra, and by hearing the sound vibration. On the mental platform, we concentrate. We bring the mind back from wherever it wanders when it's distracted. And on the level of the heart, we chant prayerfully, devotionally, like you all did so wonderfully. This and other more advanced teachings you can find in the book which Jagannath Kirtan introduced. He said the book is called Living the Holy Name. It is not correct, Jagannath Kirtan. It is called The Living So you can order the book wherever you are. It is really something which is presented as a service to the Vaishnavas in our movement, and I think you will get much light from it. Oh yeah, 10 more minutes we have, so please ask your good questions now. How do we do this, Jagannath Kirtan? Should everyone...
If I could just interject, Maharaj, Dinanukampa Dasi.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the first thing is we have allocated another extra 15 minutes if required. If possible, we have another extra 15 minutes after the 1 hour. What we will do as well is we've asked devotees to just raise their hand and put them in line to ask the question. So that's how we will work the system. Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay. Anadi God Prabhu, you may line them up.
Yes, Madhuri Gopi Mataji can ask.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Maharaj. It was very nice class, and from many years I have this question that some of the Guru Janas, they say that we should concentrate on each mantra and each word of the mantra. At the same time, it is said that you should be remembering the Krishna's pastimes and various leelas. So how we fit in this both? This is one thing. And is it okay if we do the Manas Puja of your Ishta Devata while chanting? Or is it offensive?
Thank you. This is a wonderful question. See, the answer is that in the school of chanting the holy names, there are different classrooms. There's the first classroom, there's the second classroom, there's the third classroom. They are all correct, what is taught, but there are progressions. A person who has gone to the first class can go to the second class, and that person eventually will go to the third grade, so the third class. So in the beginning, you are advised to only hear the holy name, Hare Krishna, etc. Just pronounce the name and then listen to the name. As you evolve from the first level of chanting, the first classroom, other instructions are given to you. It's just like in a school. If you evolve from the first level to the second level, there are other instructions, which are various instructions. One instruction would be to think about the meaning of the holy name. That is very often given to us. Like Prabhupada said, the chanting means, Krishna, please engage me in your service. At that moment, you take, so to say, the chanting, and which is like a glass of water, and you infuse it with the meaning. You think your chanting becomes prayerful chanting. My dear Lord, please engage me in your service. No? Then if you progress from there, other things will come to you. You will get a revelation of Krishna's qualities, like he is so merciful. And finally, you will see Krishna in your heart, and you will do what Prabhupada taught us in Genève, it's in French, it's Geneva, it's in English, it's part of Switzerland, that you invite Krishna to come in your heart, and then you serve him there. You give him, you bathe his feet with water, and you dry his feet with a towel like this. So these are various levels. When do you know on which level you are and what is appropriate for you? I would recommend two things to you. Either you can ask your spiritual master personally, or if this is difficult because he is so busy and it's difficult to write him or to reach him, you can see what happens to you while you chant. When you are a little bit purified, you will think from time to time of Krishna. You will think from time to time of Krishna's pastimes. This is automatically revealed as your heart becomes more pure. Holy name, it has many levels, like any subject. First you learn 2 plus 2 is 4. And finally, the highest degree of mathematics is Krishna and everything is equal to Vrindavan. so many levels.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you very much. And one more extension to this is like if while chanting, if we are nowadays we are not able to go to the temples. So if you are watching the temple darshan, if there is no sound, you have muted the sound and you are seeing the deities and chanting, and that is giving you a lot of ecstasy also. If because you are seeing the Lord, which you are not able to go there. So is it okay or it's
It is wonderful. It is wonderful. The Prabhupada used to tell his disciples, you should go and sit before the deities and chant. You should address Krishna. My dear Lord Krishna, please engage me in your service. It's wonderful. And this is maybe one of the advantages of the internet. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Who's next? Okay, I have a question that has come to me from YouTube, and it says that it's from Mukunda Madhav Prabhu. He says, due to not proper or less sleep at night, I feel difficulty in my focus while chanting. But because of seva and preaching, we have to go a little late to bed at night. So how could we manage this problem?
When you feel this problem of sleepiness due to less sleep or too little sleep, then there are two ways for you to deal with it. You can walk and go up and down and make some circulation in the body, then the sleepiness will not come. For sleep to come, you have to ultimately lay down and become passive. So if you do the opposite, walking up and down, or you can do, if you are a male person and a little energetic, you can do a few, sit-ups and a few push-ups, and then the circulation very quickly comes back. But if you, for a long time, don't sleep enough, I have seen Prabhupada devotees to bed. I remember in Sweden, I was in his class and I was dozing off, so I got up and was leaning on the wall, but still I was so tired that I fell asleep even while standing. Then Prabhupada said, tell him he should please go to bed. He should rest. So you can try various ways to keep you awake, but if you for too long sleep not enough, that's not good for your nerves, and that's not good for anything, and you will not be able to chant. And there's only one solution: sleep enough. Go nicely and early to bed, sleep for your 6 to 7 hours, get up and chant like this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Who's next?
Ajay Gaurang.
Jai Garanga, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Jannat Pranam. It's so enlightening class, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Maharaj, I have a question. Sometimes so happens when I'm hearing the Maha Mantra, I start recalling what I've read or what I've heard in the lectures. Then my mind is not on the hearing of the mantra. So I'm not able to understand, is this right or wrong? I'm recalling what I've read or what I heard from the lecturers, and my mind is not concentrating on the mantra Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I'm speaking, but my mind is not concentrating on that. So is it right or wrong, Maharaj?
I think it is natural. It's not right and wrong that when you chant and you come to a Krishna conscious level where you don't think of your business any longer or your family or anything which is right now up in your life, then it is natural that you think of spiritual things. But ultimately, you have to also go from there. You can say, later I deal with this. What you can do is you can make, for instance, a note that you would like to pursue this subject matter, which you can think. At the same time, as you enter deeper levels of chanting, there will be spiritual remembrances coming. You will see and remember deities in your mind. You will, and this is very much wanted. But what you are describing sounds more as something of a good distraction. A good distraction. It's even a good distraction is still a distraction.
Thank you. Next.
Akinchan Bhakta Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, I have a question that sometime it happen that we are unable to complete our 16 rounds, like 1 or 2 rounds are left, and we are so tired. It could be due to office or some service, that we think, okay, if I will chant now, it will not be with concentration, so let me do it tomorrow in the morning. So is it fine to chant in the night when we are not attentive, or better if we complete those rounds in the morning, on the next day? So I was having a doubt on this one.
Wonderful question. Thank you. And I think it is very relevant to many of us. Prabhupada would say, in exceptions, the rounds can be chanted in the next morning. These are exceptions. So if you come to such an exceptional day that you have done your work, you come home, and you really feel very tired or exhausted from your work, or you feel you're hungry, or you wish to read something like this, then as an exception, you can do the remaining 2 rounds the next day. But this should be an exception, not the rule. Why do we chant 16 rounds daily? There is only one reason. We want to show Krishna that we are not indifferent to him. We want to be present on our vows. We want to show this really matters to me. It's really important. And when Krishna sees your commitment, then Krishna thinks, oh yes, he is committed to me. I will be committed to him as well. And so, with a regular number, we show Lord Krishna that we really care for him, that we are committed in this relationship, that we are every day there. And this is really invoking mercy and pleasure of the Lord. But again, I must say there are these exceptional days, and then it is also all right to shift the rounds for tomorrow, because I'm so too tired, I'm too exhausted, and everything else. My dear devotees, I can take one more question because I have to leave from here to come to Berlin. I'm living outside of Berlin, and there is a big chanting event. It has been organized, and I must go there. So the last question, Dina Kampa Mataji, please help us to find the last question.
Okay, simple question, but I'm sure many want to know is what should be the speed of chanting? So how long to take, how many minutes to finish one round of japa?
There is one statement by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who says 4 rounds can be completed in one prahar. That's 24 minutes. Now, if you divide 24 by 4, you arrive at the number, please, 7, isn't it?
14. 7 fours are 28, so about six and a quarter.
Yeah. 6, yes, 6. So one, yes, 6 times 4 is 24.
24.
So, yes, good. So normal, a good speed is 6 minutes per round. However, if this is very fast for you and you begin to slur and you cannot hear, then you need to chant longer. I would say from 6 to 7 minutes, taking this number from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said we should chant about 6 minutes. So sometimes it's 7 minutes. I chant from 6 to 7 minutes. I sometimes stop myself, and I have this thing, clock, and then I see, because sometimes I find I'm finishing my rounds in 5 minutes. Then I know, I'm too fast. I'm not counting each beat properly. So then I know I must be more attentive. 6 to 7 minutes is the answer from the Acharya.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And I cannot let you go. I know you need to go, but we need to thank you. So thank you so very much for this amazing japa session. It's been heart-touching and enlightening, but let's admit it, we knew it was going to be inspiring. We knew it was going to be heart-touching, because you are one of our japa samrats. We hear about your japa retreats all over the world, and personally, my go-to place on Instagram is Sacinanda Swami, because that is where I find my peace at the end of the day. So Maharaj, thank you so very much. On behalf of the whole of the World Holy Name Festival Committee, headed by our Kirtan Minister, His Holiness Lokanath Swami, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making time out of your busy schedule and coming and spending this time with us. Thank you so, so much.
I thank you very much, and I wish all the participants a lot of blessings from the holy name.
Oh, thank you.
And this program, the World Holy Name Week, is very, very dear to all of us here in Germany. We do so many kirtans during this time, just even though it is a restricted situation due to COVID-19, we are somehow finding ways to engage in kirtan. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Rama
Hare Krishna. And now we have Holy Name in Bhagavatam with Her Grace Narayani Mataji. She is a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada who has done many services for His Divine Grace, including deity worship in Calcutta Temple, travelling book distribution in Western India for the Bombay Temple, teaching Vedic comprehensive courses such as Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, and Bhaktivedanta courses at the Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education. She helped write the Vaishnav training and etiquette curriculum for the Bhakti Shastri and has written 3 books: Srimad Bhagavatam at a Glance, Garden of Devotion, and Bhagavad Gita at a Glance. All these books can be found on Amazon, so please check them out. And now, without further ado, let's welcome Her Grace Narayani Mataji.
Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna
We're reading from
Rama, Hare Rama,
8th
Rama
canto,
Rama,
23rd
Hare
chapter,
Hare.
verse 16. Mantatas santatas chitram yeshikala avastuta sarvam karoti nishchitram anusankirtanam tava. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles, and moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harinam 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 Eva Kevalam Kalarnashteva Nashteva Nashteva Gatiran Yatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. Brihadaranyaka, Purana 38, 126. In this age of Kali, it is extremely difficult to perform Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or sacrifices perfectly. Hardly anyone can chant the Vedic mantras with perfect pronunciation or accumulate the paraphernalia for Vedic performances. Therefore, the sacrifice recommended in this age is Sankirtan, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajantihi Sumed Hasaha. Instead of wasting time performing Vedic sacrifices, those who are intelligent, those who possess good brain substance, should take to the chanting of the Lord's holy name and thus perform sacrifice perfectly. I have seen that many religious leaders are addicted to performing yajnas and spending hundreds and thousands of rupees for imperfect sacrificial performances. This is a lesson for those who unnecessarily execute such imperfect sacrifices. We should take the advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayai Yajantihi Samedasha. Although Shukracharya was a strict Brahmana addicted to ritualistic activities, he also admitted, Nishchitaram anusankirtanam tava. My Lord, constant chanting of the holy name of your Lordship makes everything perfect. In Kali Yuga, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot be performed as perfectly as before. Therefore, Sri Jiva Goswami has recommended that although one should take care to follow all the principles in every kind of spiritual activity, especially in worship of the deity, there is still a chance of discrepancies, and one should compensate for this by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore give special stress to the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra in all activities. Mukam karoti vachalam bhangam langayate girim yakipantam hambande Shri Guru Dihatavinam Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjara Shakaya Chakshuramiditam Yena Tassamai Shri Gurave Namaha. So there is another very significant verse which I will read in connection with this verse, which is spoken by Shukracharya. So the verse is in 6th canto, 3rd chapter, verse 25. The story of Ajamila. Because they are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yajnavalkya and Jaimini and other compilers of the religious scriptures cannot know the secret, confidential religious system of the 12 Mahajans. They cannot understand the transcendental value of performing devotional service or chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. because their minds are attracted to the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas, especially Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Rigveda. Their intelligence has become dull. Thus, they are busy collecting the ingredients for ritualistic ceremonies that yield only temporary benefits, such as elevation to Swargaloka for material happiness. They are not attracted to the Sankirtan movement. Instead, they're interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So why are people attracted to ritualistic ceremonies? Why is that? This verse answers that question. Gita says, Vedashtasvayaraham eva Ved. Yeah, the real purpose of studying the Vedas is to approach the lotus feet of Krishna. Unfortunately, unintelligent people bewildered by the grandeur of Vedic yajnas want to see gorgeous sacrifices performed. They want Vedic mantras chanted, huge amounts of money spent. Prabhupada said, sometimes we have to observe the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies to please such unintelligent men. Recently, when we established a large Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, we were obliged to have Vedic ceremonies enacted by Brahmins because the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially the Smarta Brahmins, would not accept Europeans and Americans as bona fide Brahmins. Thus, we had to engage Brahmins to perform costly yajnas. In spite of these yagas, the members of our society performed Sankirtan loudly with Ridangas, and I considered the Sankirtan more important than the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Both the ceremonies and Sankirtan were going on simultaneously. The ceremonies were meant for persons interested in Vedic rituals for elevation to heavenly planets, whereas the Sankirtan was meant for pure devotees interested in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who would simply have performed Sankirtan, but then the inhabitants of Vrindavan would not have taken the installation ceremony seriously. As explained here, the Vedic performances are meant for those whose intelligence has been dulled by the flowery language of the Vedas to elevate themselves to higher planets, especially in Kali Yuga. Sankirtan alone is sufficient. If the members of our temples in different parts of the world simply continue Sankirtan before the deity, especially before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will remain perfect. There is no need of any other performances. Nevertheless, to keep oneself clean in habits and mind, deity worship and other regulative principles are required. Srila Jiva Goswami says, although Sankirtan is sufficient for perfection of life, archana or worship of the deity must continue in order the devotees may stay clean and pure. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore recommended one follow both processes simultaneously. We strictly follow this principle of performing deity worship and Sankirtan along parallel lines. This we should continue. And so Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing, as well as Jiva Goswami, Bhaktisiddhanta, that Harinam is all we need, actually. We don't need to do all these rituals, but to keep ourselves clean and pure, we also follow the deity worship in the temple. Sridhar Swami comments on the verse in 6th canto. Just like a doctor, he may not know that there's a very wonderful medicine called Mita Sanjivani. And this Mita means death, Sanjivani means giving life. Even a dead man can get life by drinking that medicine. It's a very strong tonic, still used in Ayurvedic medicine. And so Sridhar Swami says, so regularly the Ayurvedic doctors, if you're suffering from fever, they give Chikatu, 3 bitter medicines, Neem, Kalmig, and Chirta. Very bitter. So Sridhar Swami gives the example without knowing there's a very nice medicine, Mrita Sanjivani. They take so many troublesome medicines. Similarly, the great stalwart leaders of religious principles, without knowing Hare Krishna Mahamantra, take through so many troublesome, multi-ritualistic ceremonies. So there are 20 Dharma Shastras composed by Manu, Parashara, and others. And all of them are meant for counteracting our sinful life. If you don't like to commit some sin, if you do commit sin, there will be some sinful reaction, even if you don't like to do it. So every day we sing this prayers of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Samsara Dava Nalalira Loka. This world is such, there's always a blazing fire. Davanala. Nobody goes to set fire in the forest, but it takes place. So we are seeing now in USA, on the West Coast, the whole West Coast is on fire. So many fires, blazing fires. So the whole material world is a blazing fire. Nobody wants it, but the miserable condition of life is coming. So those who are afraid, they perform yagyas. But the leaders, the religious leaders, they don't know about the simple method of Harinam Sankirtan. They take so many other yagyas prescribed in the Vedas. They're bewildered. They're bewildered. And so we have a very nice Harinam Sankirtan. Maharaj is speaking in the 6th canto, 3rd chapter, in a later verse 28. He says, Tan anayatvam asato vimukam mukunda pararavinna makaranna rasad ajasram nishkinchanai paramahansakalai asankaya justagiheni raya vartmani badlachishnan. Paramahansas are exalted persons who have no taste for material enjoyment and who drink the honey of the Lord's lotus feet. My dear servants, bring to me for punishment only persons who are averse to the taste of that honey, who do not associate with Paramahansas and who are attached to family life and worldly enjoyment, which form the path to hell. So our honey is Sankirtan, chanting the holy name. That's the honey. That's the honey. That's the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet. So Yamaraj says, go after those people who are averse to the honey of Krishna's lotus feet. So Prabhupada was giving a lecture on this verse in Gorakhpur. And he said, those who are not associating with devotees. He was in India and he was lecturing to some Indian gentlemen. And he said, those persons, that means who are not associating, means those who are not becoming life members of ISKCON. Go there. So, of course, in that class, everyone became a life member of ISKCON. And so if a pure devotee says something, it must come true. So that was Prabhupada's comment about this. In the Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 5th chapter, verses 17, 18. Even if one chants offensively, there is no loss. Even if one falls down, there is no loss. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Kamataji Krishna Bhaje Shastra Adya Mani Deva Rishi Pittat Dikir Kabur Nahi Rini. If a person gives up all material desires and completely engages in transcendental loving service of Krishna, he is never indebted to demigods, sages, or forefathers. So at birth, anyone who is born in this world is indebted to so many people. The demigods who give us air, light, and water. The sages who give us scriptures, Vyasadeva, Narada. And also in the family, our forefathers we're indebted to. And we're indebted to common living entities like the cow, from whom we take milk. And because we accept service from so many, then we become indebted. However, if one is completely engaged in Lord's devotional service, all debts are finished. This is confirmed in a verse in Bhagavatam 11:541. Eva shibutaptaninam pitinam nakinkaro nayamini charajan saratmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam paragityakartam. One who has given up all material duties and taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who gives shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even his forefathers who have passed away. So how do we, normally, you do yajnas with ghee and you satisfy the demigods. By studying the Vedas, you satisfy the sages. If you give water to your forefathers, then that's Pitri Yajna. And offering tribute, Bhuta Yajna. Receiving guests, Nri Yajna. These are 5 yajnas. But when one takes to Sankirtan Yajna, chanting Hare Krishna, you don't have to perform any other yajna. Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, made a statement about the systematic performance of Bhagavat Dharma in connection with statements previously made by the 9 Yogendras. He explained the position of Krishna's pure devotee and how he is absolved of all debts. So not only, now, Srila Prabhupada, when he would give lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam, very often he would put the chanting, reading, hearing of Bhagavatam, he would connect it together with Harinam Sankirtan. So here in a lecture, this was, on Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, not only chanting Hare Krishna mantra is called Sankirtan of the holy name. Guna Karma Nam Nam. When you read Krishna book, that is Sankirtan. Sankirtan doesn't mean simply chanting the holy name of Krishna. It means you discuss Krishna's activities. That is Sankirtan. Bhagavato Guna Karma Nam Nam. Name, quality, karma, everything about Krishna. That is also Kirtan. Srila Prabhupada would often put 2 Sanskrit phrases together. Kirtanya Sadahari and Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Always chant the holy name of Krishna. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Tanadapi Sanichana, Torapi Sanishana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanya Sada Hari. Always study and hear Srimad Bhagavatam and always chant the holy name of Krishna. So, how do we get purified? By chanting and hearing Bhagavatam and the holy name. Bhagavatam in the 1st canto, 2nd chapter, verse 17 states, Shindatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hidantasto Shapatrani Viduno Tisurit Satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma Super Soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna mantra very, very attentively, when we're chanting Hare Krishna mantra very, very nicely, what is actually happening in our heart? This verse is explaining. Krishna is hearing. Krishna is hearing the sound of his holy name. He's hearing the sound of Bhagavatam. He's hearing our calling to him. And he's cleaning our heart. So if you have video camera, what would it look like inside the heart when we're chanting attentively, when we're chanting without offenses, when we're chanting sincerely, when we're chanting prayerfully with humility? What would it look like? How is he cleaning our heart? According to His Holiness Sacinanda Swami, he's taking a broom and sweeping our heart. That's one way he could be cleaning our heart. Another way is he could be dancing in our heart. just like Rupa Goswami prays, that when will I hear the Lord dancing in my ear? When will I feel the Lord dancing, taste the Lord dancing on my tongue? When will I see the Lord dancing in the courtyard of my heart? So this is the Lord. He's so happy to hear us. He's very happy to hear when we're attentively chanting, when we're attentively calling him to us. And he's in our heart and he's hearing. And he's everywhere and he's hearing, of course. And if we chant in front of the deity, then it's very personal conversation. And so on this verse 17 of second canto, first chapter, Prabhupada has given a lecture. Actually, this was 1848 in LA, 1973. Srila Prabhupada said, every obeisance, every mantra we chant is being counted by Krishna and being put into our spiritual account, spiritual bank account. Did you know you have a spiritual bank account? And when you chant, when you hear Bhagavatam, you're putting deposits into your spiritual bank account. And one day, the account will have enough in it, Prabhupada said, to purchase Krishna. We'll purchase Krishna. Krishna will give himself to us if we give ourselves to him by chanting holy name, his holy name. So Srila Prabhupada in another lecture explained that, don't think that these things will go in vain. Every account is kept. So deity worship is recommended because if somebody comes to the temple, offers obeisances, he immediately gets a credit note. And when the credit notes are so much, it's a big amount, he can purchase Krishna. So when I was traveling before this COVID, last year, I heard an account by a devotee in Eastern Europe, that this man, he had a near-death experience. And in his near-death experience, he was taken to Yamaraj. And Yamaraj was hearing all the sinful things he did in his life. So at the end of the list of all the sinful things, Yamaraj asked his secretary, anything good? Did this man do anything good in his life? So the secretary answered yes. He waved to the Sankirtan Harinam party. Oh, so everybody in the assembly, they said, oh, this is wonderful. So then Yamaraj asked, how many times did he wave? 4 times. Oh, okay. So Yamaraj asked the man, if I send you back, what will you do? The man said, I'll become a Hare Krishna devotee. So Yamaraj sent him back. He joined the temple and became a Hare Krishna devotee. So it's very, very powerful, the chanting of the holy name. Anyone who appreciates the Hare Nam party, the hearing, the chanting, the dancing. We see pictures of Hare Nam parties and people are dancing with the devotees. And they're getting benefit. It will be counted and they will be saved from the greatest danger. Just a little bhakti. Selpamapya satarmasya chayate mahato bhaya. So another time, His Holiness Indadum Maharaj was on an airplane. And there was a lot of turbulence. Actually, the plane, whenever the plane would try to land, there was a huge gust of wind. And the pilot would abort the landing and go back up. So the first time this happened, Maharaj started chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And the Christians were chanting Jesus. And the Muslims were chanting Allah. And So then the plane went back up. But next to Maharaj, there was a scientist. He said, Swamiji, I do not believe in this prayers. I'm a scientist. I must see for myself. So the plane went down again. Maharaj was going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Everybody was saying their prayers. Pilot aborted the landing. Came back up. The scientist was sick. And he asked Maharaj, Swamiji, what was that you were saying? And Maharaj said, Hare Krishna. And it says, no, the whole thing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then the scientist learned the Maha Mantra. The pilot made an announcement. So we're going to try one more time. And if it fails, we will go back to where we came from. So the pilot went down. The plane was shaking vigorously. Everyone was chanting. The scientist was chanting. And the plane landed safely. And so Maharaj said to the scientist, so now do you believe? And the scientist said, maybe. So then Maharaj said, okay, here's my card. If you have any questions, you can contact me. So Srila Prabhupada was once asked by Bhargava, my godbrother, sometimes I fight with my godbrothers. Is that bad? Prabhupada said, no, not necessarily. Sometimes I have problems, and the spiritual master isn't there, and it's too detailed for the scriptures. What should I do? Prabhupada said, if you chant Hare Krishna very nicely, the answers will come from within. So in this verse from first canto, Vitunoti, Krishna helps you. Those who are hearing with attention. Prabhupada said, Krishna is with you. Krishna is so kind. Krishna is so sympathetic. As soon as he sees, oh, my child is trying to reach me, he's very anxious when he sees his son in difficulty. Just like a father, if the son is in difficulty, the father is more anxious. How will I rescue this boy from difficulty? So we have dirty things in the heart. Srila Prabhupada explained in his lecture, what is that dirty thing? I'll be happy by material enjoyment. But nobody can be happy. No, everyone's in anxiety because they've accepted something which will not make them happy, something temporary. Though in the purport of 1.2.17, Srila Prabhupada says, by the grace of God, a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances, and gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. So, and Prabhupada explains how to get strength, and that is by constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Krishna is helping. He helps from within by cleansing the heart and giving intelligence. Dadami buddhi yogam tam, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is in our heart, and the dirty things are here, and I am also there. And as soon as he sees, oh, this living entity is a little serious about hearing and chanting about me, he will help. We cannot get out of these dirty things by our own endeavor, but Krishna helps. He's Surit Satam, he's the friend, intimate friend. He's a well-wisher of the devotees. So then there's the next verse that comes after this. Nashta Prayesha Bhadeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavadutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike. By regular attendance in Bhagavatam class and rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So Prabhupada says, here's the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things in the heart, which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. The remedy is association of the Bhagavatas, and there are two types, the book and the devotee. Both are competent remedies, and both are good enough to eliminate the obstacles. I saw a letter from Srila Prabhupada. He said, you say you have so many obstacles, but I can kick away all those obstacles. So what does it mean to serve the Bhagavat? Tadiya Seva. Srila Prabhupada says, not to approach Bhagavan directly. Bhagavata Sevaya, not Bhagavan Sevaya. Because we cannot approach Krishna directly. So who's a Bhagavata? One who has dedicated his life to Bhagavatam, to service of the Lord. Bhagavata Sevaya. So that means serving deities, preaching, chanting Harinam Sankirtan, the books, these are Bhagavata. So Prabhupada explains in that purport to this verse of 18. Human reason fails to understand how, by serving the devotee Bhagavat or book Bhagavat, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. But actually these are facts, explained by Narada. And so if we look into Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse around 100, before after, we will see some very interesting verses that explain to us what's happening in our heart when we actually meet the Bhagavatas and how it happens. So the first thing that happens is that we have to take Gaura-Nitai into our hearts. So if we take Gaura-Nitai into our hearts, they'll be always chanting Hare Krishna, and we'll be always chanting Hare Krishna. And then they will, not only that, they will give light. They will shine the torchlight of knowledge in our heart. There is the disc on the lotus feet of Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. And that disc cuts down our 6 enemies, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. It also gives light into our hearts. So what happens when the light comes in our hearts? Then, by chanting, by serving, we see they connect us with the 2 kinds of Bhagavatas, devotee Bhagavat and book Bhagavat. And then what happens when we associate with the devotee and the book? Of course, association means chanting, hearing the holy name, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna book. And what happens when we associate in that way? We serve the Bhagavatas. Srila Prabhupada gave us instruction, you must chant 16 rounds daily. So what happens when we do that? Then by doing that, we get bhakti in our hearts. These are verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And what happens when we get bhakti in our hearts? What happens after that? We control Krishna. So that's when our spiritual bank account becomes full. We can control Krishna by bhakti, by chanting, by hearing. That's pleasing to Krishna. These ritualistic ceremonies, they are not so pleasing. And there's always a chance of failure, just like in this 8th canto, it's talking about Bali Maharaj, that he actually seemingly he failed to do the sacrifice properly. He had to leave in the middle of the sacrifice. And the sacrifice had to be finished by other Brahmins while he was not present. He went down to Sutala. But actually, by serving the Lord, he became a Mahajan. And he got the Lord as his doorkeeper. So, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. This is the prescription. And Kirtana Sadahari. Every moment we should remember Bhagavatam. And every moment we should chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Kirtanaya Sadahari. And then all the dirty things in our hearts will be removed. Just like Lord Chaitanya says, Chaita Darpana Marjanam. By chanting the holy name, our heart will be clean, the blazing fire will be extinguished, and we will realize our supreme spiritual nature. We will get knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and we will realize the Lord and be happy step by step. Step by step. So, Nashta Presha Bhadeshu. Here it says in this verse that, okay, inauspicious things are almost cleansed. So you might be wondering, well, how much is cleansed and how much is remaining in this verse? So Srila Prabhupada in his lecture explains that 75% is cleansed. At that time you get nishta, or you become bhakti bhakti naishtiki. You become fixed in devotional service. So we have shraddha, faith, and sadhu sangha, association with devotees. Bhajana kriya, performing rules and regulations, devotional service. Anartha nivritti, getting free, the clearing stage. And finally, in the middle is nishta, where we get firm faith and we're determined to perform devotional service. And all this simply by chanting Hare Krishna. Of course, after nishta, this verse goes up to nishta, and the following verses in the second chapter of first canto, they explain ruchi, taste, and asakti, attachment, bhava, ecstasy, and prema. And so that's what awaits us by chanting the holy name. We realize the form, the qualities, the lila, and we become self-realized. And so, Srila Prabhupada was very, very merciful. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Ksheman Bahamyaham, that if you are sincerely engaged in my devotional service, I will carry what you lack and preserve what you have. So Srila Prabhupada also has said that if you simply chant 16 rounds, this is Dina Bandhu, heard this on the Vyasa-san in LA, you just follow these 4 regulative principles and chant 16 rounds, then you will go back to Godhead. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So we have a guarantee here from Srila Prabhupada. And here we have one example. There was Atmatattva Prabhu, my godbrother, gives an example of one man in Delhi who was not up to the standard. He wanted to join the temple. And Atmatattva said, I was cleaning the temple room in Delhi, and a 60-year-old man came in and performed obeisances. The old man said, I want to become a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I've asked before, but they told me I have to serve in the temple for 6 months. Then he showed me his leg was swollen. He said, I have a big problem with my leg and I cannot serve in the temple. Can you please ask Srila Prabhupada to accept me as his disciple anyway? So Atmatattva took the man to see Prabhupada in the evening. He brought a big plate of fruit to offer to Prabhupada. Then he said to Prabhupada, I want to chant Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada said, who is stopping you? Do you know how to chant Hare Krishna? The man said, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada said, yes. Prabhupada took the man's beads and showed him how to do it. He chanted a full round on the man's beads. These are my beads from Srila Prabhupada. He chanted a full round on too, so you can see what it looks like. These are not Tulsi beads. We had to make them ourselves and send them. I sent them to India, and he chanted. And we had to write a letter. And I wrote, if you don't initiate me, I'm like a dead body. And I quoted Bhagavatam, 2nd canto. If you don't get the dust, the lotus feet of a pure devotee on your head, you're like a dead body. And so he sent me back my beads, and he accepted me as his disciple. And he asked me to chant at least 16 rounds a day, follow the regular principles. So Srila Prabhupada took this man's beads and showed him how to do it. He chanted a full round on the man's beads, and he gave him back. He said, now you chant. So Atmatapa said, after traveling for a while, I met this man again. He was still chanting, and he had a big picture of Srila Prabhupada in his room. The second time I went to see him, he had passed away. I heard they could not take the beads from his hand. And the last 2 to 3 weeks of his life, he didn't do anything but chant. And the last week, he sat in one place, looked at Srila Prabhupada's picture, and chanted. When he left, the last thing they heard was his chanting. So Krishna's in our heart. He's hearing us. If we chant sincerely, regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, and chant Hare Krishna. Kirtanaya Sadahari. So these two processes are recommended by Lord Chaitanya. And Srila Prabhupada gave equal importance. He also said, chanting Hare Krishna will make you happy, and the books will keep you convinced. So we should try to bring both into our daily lives as much as we can. Try to please Krishna by our chanting. Try to please Krishna by reading and hearing and chanting Srimad Bhagavatam. And our life will be perfect. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Her Grace Narayani Mataji, for that wonderful, insightful and inspiring class on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And just for everyone's reference, the verse Mataji was referring to in the class can be found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, 23rd chapter,